Teamwork versus partnerships. That's what we're talking about today. Are they good? Are they bad? They're both. So I'm trying out some new tricks with the camera. Maybe I can reduce some of the wind noise. I'm going to tell you about my first experience, bad experience, with a partner. And I was doing a wheelie. And here comes a guy on a motorcycle who does a wheelie going the other way. Turns around and comes back and we start talking. Realized we lived in the same apartment complex. He was graduating. He was going to be the first graduate class at LSU in their new entrepreneurship program. I think Ronald Reagan was their commencement speaker. But entrepreneurship was very interested. And I started talking about, all the little businesses I had as a kid and the business ideas I had as a freshman. I start telling him my ideas for a restaurant. And he loved the idea. And this was a rich kid. He had inherited millions and millions of dollars. And he, as a college student, he had access to all this money and was spending it, The next thing you know, our partnership, we're buying a building on a location and hey, you do all the business planning and the minute details, and I'll work out the big ones. That sounded good to me. I was 18 years old. I'm coming up with names for the restaurant, fully developed the menu. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew what I liked. Putting it down on paper, and he was giving me the marching orders to go ahead and get this done. So I came up with a great name. It kind of epitomized what we were, and he came up with the name that was about the dumbest thing I ever heard. So we took a little survey in our apartment complex. Your name versus mine. Well, not only did mine get 100% of the votes, it was like I was Saddam Hussein or something. His garnered people like fussing at him. Like, is this a joke, or what are you thinking? So my name was Cajun Express, and that's what we ended up naming the restaurant. The name he came up with was Pooyais. Pooyai. Lady, I believe she might have been the manager of our apartment complex. She says, you never put the word poo next to food. This caused a bit of a rift from the get-go. We haven't even sold to our first customer. And he was kind of pissed. He had a bit of an edge about him from that point on about me. And hey, I thought you told me to take this and run with it. So, but we're thriving. We're a thriving restaurant. There's articles that are written about us in the local newspaper, considered in the top 20 entrepreneurs. And there's a line waiting to get in every day at lunch. It was a drive-through. You can come in and get a shrimp po' boy or a cup of etouffee served through your car window. And great idea. I just gave you $1 million idea. Somebody else should run with it. We hired this old chef who wanted to come out of retirement and just do something. So he comes in and develops all our recipes, scales everything up so we can make enormous pots of it. And he did all this for us, and the old man just left. He'd come check on us every now and then, but he didn't even want a paycheck. But one day, the old man calls me and says, hey, what the hell did you do to my red beans and rice? It tastes like a freaking apple pie. And this man's shouting at me on the phone. Go back through the book I left you. Go back through that menu. Where does it say I put those ingredients in there? Go back to doing what I left for you. So I walk over to the pot of red beans and rice and take a big spoonful. And sure enough, it tastes like apple pie. Nothing but cinnamon. I call up my business partner. dump out this red beans and rice. Somebody, seems like they dumped an entire bottle of cinnamon in it. Oh, that was me. Excuse me? Why would you put cinnamon in the red beans and rice? And I could watch people driving down our driveway, taking that first bite of red beans and rice and just wincing like. And so I asked him, all you taste is cinnamon. Why did we turn this into a cinnamon dish? And his answer was, I like it that way. I'm like, well, I'm gonna dump it out and change it back. No, you're not. Yes, I am. People are complaining. No, they're not. I like it this way, and that's the way it's staying. Oh, okay. So I dumped out the red beans and rice and made some new red beans and rice. Later on, we ended up at some business forum with all, local business people complaining or whatever they do at these things. And he introduces me as his employee. I probably spent 3 years with this guy. I don't remember too many conversations verbatim, but I remember being introduced as his employee. And I discovered that he was in negotiations to sell the place. Didn't tell me. About that same time, a very high-powered gentleman drove through the drive-thru and asked me if I wanted to sell it. Well, sure I do. I'm not sure I can. Let's talk. Basically, he realized how screwed I was, and he gave me the card of his corporate attorney. Said, you need to talk to this guy. You're too young to be in this position. He said, I wouldn't buy that place if he gave it to me. He said, but what I do want is I do want you. And I want your ideas. All right? Sounded good to me. So that old attorney, he told me something that I quote all the time. He said, you're not in a partnership, you're in a sinking ship. And your partner, captain of your ship, is bailed out, has tied you to the railings. How did he know this? He's going to try to fire you, or he's going to fire you. And if he does, come back here and talk to me, because I'd love to sue him. I walk in the next morning, and my partner was already there. That was rare. And he hands me a note. And I open the note, and it says, you're fired. Wow. Fired? I mean, it was all mine. What a surprise that was. It was all my idea, my menu, my logo. It was all my hard work, but it was his money. I get a call that my business partner had been killed on his motorcycle. Then his family came in and wanted me to handle some things, and he fired me. I don't know. It was such a weird time and such a strange time, but better be pretty clear what your goals are and what your duties are and what your ownership is. So yeah, I wasn't in a partnership. I was in a sinking ship from the moment we set sail. This was very much inexperience on my part. Not looking out for myself, not having a team behind me. A team. That's what I needed. I needed a team, and this attorney was the first person on my team. I'm on this ride, and one of the top guys in the region rides up next to me, and he said, man, you're kicking butt. We'd like to partner up with you. Hey, come ride your bike for us. You don't need to worry about anything else. Just ride, do your best, and make sure somebody on this team is the one who wins. We don't care if it's you. We don't care if you finish last. Just make sure you help. And it was going to be us, the Herring Gas Team, a little team based in Brookhaven, Mississippi. versus the world, and they wanted me. It's kind of flattering. If I had another partnership, an investment, I would show up there 9, 10 o'clock, and he would look at his watch. Every day he would get there around 7, and I'd get there when I was done, usually around 9 or 10, and he'd look at his watch. We'd work together, and words got very few and at 3 o'clock every day, packed up, going home. And I was still there working on this place or looking for the next deal. And I didn't stop working until well after the sun went down. I remember starting my generator up and turning the lights on. And the next morning I'd wake up early and go ride my bike, get there when I got there, and get out my truck, and he'd look at his watch. So one morning I woke up pretty early. It was raining, so I just decided to go to this property we were working on, and I beat him there. And so when he got out of his truck, I made a very specific point to look at my watch. That didn't go over so well. The whole day, it was hardly a word. And then at about 3 o'clock, he started packing up to leave. And I said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "It's time to quit. Because number one thing you do is you go home at the end of the day." It's like, this is your business. We're working on it together. Oh man, it hit the fan. And I realized that, yes, this was a partnership. Partnership with some very blurred boundaries. He didn't like being challenged. He didn't like that I worked more than him. So that was the end of that one. But I'm not condemning all partnerships. Partnerships work great. I mean, marriages are partnerships. Everything has to be clear. Your duties has to be defined. Communication has to be there, or they won't work. Raising a child takes teamwork. You can't be a partner raising a child. You need to be on the same team. So I ended up on this great team, the Herring Gas Racing team, run by one of my oldest friends, Frank Moak. And it turned out to be a great partnership because the teamwork aspect of it was so out front and center. It was so pivotal to the success or the failure of the team. And we failed a lot. Usually when we failed, it was a breakdown of teamwork. Drew Brees, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, they get mentioned all the time as the greatest player. They won the championship. They won, the Super Bowl. But when you talk to them, all they're talking about is their team. Here's where it failed. It failed with the person that doesn't understand the team aspect of it. It failed when there was a guy who, was just intimidated that his own teammate had broken away and might win the race. And once I pounded into them, hey, you didn't win the race, we won the race. The team won the race. We won a lot of races. We won a lot of championships. And in there, I was first place rider in a bunch of those races. So were so many of my team, and it was a team effort. If they didn't understand that, it wasn't going to work out. And you could look at how, like, sports writers, how they write. They're only talking about the one guy that won. They're not talking about the guy's teammate who finished last, but led the race for 60 miles. So the team leader didn't have to. When you had these writers talking only about Michael Jordan, or only about Drew Brees, and only about Brady, they don't understand the teamwork, and they probably would have never fit in well in the team. And that's probably why, they're writing about it and not playing it. Actually passed a rider today, and he was smoking weed. In life, you have to build a team. My wife's company, she's constantly talking about team building. She's got accountants and attorneys and these business consultants and software people, and she considers them all on her team, because if she does well, they do well. a partnership can really work well for you, and it can also ruin your life and make you lose a lot of sleep. And teamwork can really make you successful. It can really make you thrive and be happy. And it can also be horribly toxic and can make you feel like you're dealing with a child. So the moral of both of those is you need to be very careful who you choose to be on your team or to be partners with this person, and see if this is who you want to spend your days with, you know, or for a marriage, your nights with, you know. And if it's a team situation, you know, what is this person bringing, and what are you going to bring to them? You know, it's not all about them bringing something to the team. You know, they need to have some sort of security. They need to know that, you know, next year you're not going to be searching for their replacement because, you know, they gave 100% and their 100% just wasn't good enough. You know, sometimes those are the kind of people who will be your best teammate. After races, people will come up to me and say, man, you were the strongest guy here today. I would say, go look at the results. And if they looked at the results, they might see my name as dead last. But I really wasn't telling them to go look at where my name was. I was telling them to go look at where my teammate's name was. It was probably in first place. Guy smoking weed. I hope you enjoyed all this talk about partnerships and teamwork. Marriages that work are good partnerships, and families that work are good teams. And in business, if you've got a business where everything's going well, it's probably feels more like a team. And if you've got a partnership where things are going well, there are probably things where neither person can perform their job without the other one. And that's the biggest difference. But I hope you got something out of this. That's just my experiences. Thanks for joining. I am on my way home, and I will see you on the next one. See you later.